Hello! Cain Burgess has tried his whole life not to break the law. As a boxer, he couldn't stage a fight and fall to the ground at the right moment to make some extra money for himself and his older brother, who doesn't shy away from criminal activities. When life brings the brothers back together, Cain eventually agrees to a dubious assignment, hoping to get his life back on track. He'll spend the next 7 years in England's toughest prison, and he'll go through a lot to get his chance at revenge. Prisoner Cain Burgess is escorted to the hospital where his sick mother lies. Upon arrival, however, he receives disappointing news. They are just minutes too late.
Oh well, my sincere condolences, Mr. Burgess, but I'm afraid it's back to the nick for you.
I'd like to see if it's all the same.
He is allowed into the morgue accompanied by 2 policemen. After saying goodbye to his mother, Cain attacks the guards in the hospital elevator and escapes. A few days later, he walks up to a bar where 2 men are standing at the entrance. They declare that only members can walk in and do not let the man inside. Cain knocks them out with sharp blows. He enters the building and sits down at the bar where he asks the bartender, Bez, to pour him a beer. Cain enjoys his first pint in many years and hears the men behind him talk. The gangsters complain about some madman causing mayhem in the streets. The mob bosses have imposed a curfew and all business is down. A guy named Toon explains that last night while they were selling their goods on the corner, some guy was following them. When his partner Rook came up to deal with the stranger, this maniac attacked him with an axe and chopped off his hand. Toon rushed at the attacker, but was unable to chase him down. When Toon had returned, his partner was already dead, and his arm was gone. Hearing this, Cain can't hold back his laughter. Toon certainly doesn't look like a brave one.
What's a f***ing tough guy look like then?
Well, they look like me, don't they? You know, handsome, well-aged.
He tells his side of the story, in which Toon just ran away like a coward. The guy wants to defend his honor and challenges the stranger to a fight. Cain confesses that he killed Rook, and Bez spits out his beer and demands the man to get out. The awakened guards rush into the bar and try to take revenge for the beating, but find themselves knocked out again. Cain pulls out a shotgun and takes the whole gang hostage. He demands a meeting with their leader, Lincoln, but instead Hyde, an old acquaintance of Cain's, emerges from his office at the noise. Hyde reveals that they are facing Lincoln's younger brother, who was given an assignment years ago. He messed it up and spent 5 years in prison. He is not afraid of Cain and taunts him. One of the men tries to disarm Burgess, but gets shot in the leg and screams in pain. Cain knocks him out with a blow to the head and then throws a bag to Toon. Inside, he discovers the hand of the murdered Rook. Hyde is surprised at how much the prison had changed harmless Cain. The man responds by hitting him on the head with the butt of his gun. He blames it on Hyde and Lincoln, not the prison. Cain demands they call the latter and have him come to the bar. While they wait for the boss, Cain reveals where the scars on his face came from. 7 years ago, he went to see his brother, mafia boss and loan shark Lincoln. At that time, he was playing poker with his henchmen, among them Rook and Stokes, who had no respect for Cain. The guy had once been a professional boxer and should have lost in a staged fight. Instead, he knocked out his opponent, and the thugs lost their money. Cain explained that he had a business plan to open a gym.
It's a good deal. Been talking it through with Mum and she thinks it could be a real winner.
Mum?
Yeah.
However, he lacked the initial capital. His brother flatly refuses to lend him money, citing his principle of not lending to family members. If the business fails, Lincoln will have to send his debt collectors after him, and he doesn't want to hurt his brother. And people aren't likely to want to go to the gym of a failed boxer. Hurt by his brother's attitude, Cain got emotional, but Lincoln calmed him down. He promised to give him money if his brother would do a favor for him. Cain didn't want to break the law, but eventually agreed to do it and went to Lincoln's right-hand man, Hyde. He showed Cain a picture of a woman, Mabel Liedel, who would pick up a package from Hyde's office. The guy would have to follow her and steal the package.
If she causes you any trouble, you can knock her out cold, can't you?
Agreeing to this had cost Cain a lot. He ended up in England's worst prison, Belmarsh. Though it was his first arrest, he found himself among the most dangerous criminals. On the first day, one of them got into a fight with the guy, and for some reason others joined in. Cain was stabbed in the side with a shiv, but continued to fight back, for which he had his jaw broken and his teeth knocked out. That's how he got his metal prosthetics. Soon his mother came to see him, hoping that prison would change her good-for-nothing son.
I'm getting a kick up the backside, all right, don't worry about
Nothing
it.
to be proud of.
I'm not proud of it.
She had no money for a lawyer, and the older brother refused to help. The mother said she would not insist because Lincoln had a job and did not give her as much trouble as Cain did. The younger brother did not reveal that he was in jail because of the older brother's assignment, but asked his mother to bring him here so they could have a talk. But Lincoln never came to the prison. The only thing Cain could rely on was himself and his body, which was covered with new scars again and again because of the attempts on his life for a reason he couldn't understand. He had fought off an attack by 2 men armed with knives, but had been unjustly accused of initiating it, and had had a year added to his sentence. Cain had a fit of rage and demanded to be transferred to another prison, but all they did was throw him into a solitary confinement cell. The only thing left to do was to train and adjust his psyche to survive this hell.
Just like the skin on your knuckles, the mind can be made callous as fuck.
And still he couldn't understand why everyone was trying to kill him, as another fight in the yard ended in a victory over 3 inmates. One of them gave him the answer. The tattooed thug told him that he wasn't doing it for free. His brother Lincoln had put a bounty on Cain's head. At the bar, Hyde tries to hide his involvement in the case, but Cain doesn't believe the bastard. He's used to not trusting people. His face remembers all too well the sensation of the boiling liquid he was doused with on the sly after yet another fight against 4 assassins. He had smashed the head of the guy who did it against the sink, and for this, already 2 years were added to his sentence, 6 months in solitary confinement, then a scuffle in which Cain shows no mercy to his assailants, and the cycle repeats itself. He had killed and attacked prison guards, earning himself an intimidating reputation. 3 years later, Cain was visited again by his mother, who had been unable to see her son more often because of his constant detention in the punishment cell. The woman is disappointed and says that Lincoln has advised her not to visit his troubled younger brother, who is a bad influence on the woman's health. Hurt and embarrassed, Cain was about to tell his mother all about her favorite boy's shady dealings when she interrupted the guy to inform him of her recent diagnosis with cancer. Lincoln had paid for her treatment, and Cain decided not to upset his mother. But all his efforts were in vain, for she died before he could visit her at the hospital. When Cain had nothing more to lose, he escaped by knocking out the guards in the elevator and breaking the handcuffs with a fire extinguisher. He then took a passerby's jacket and wallet.
I didn't think you had it in you. Well, I'm not the same bloke you left out in the cold, Hyde.
The bandits at the bar ask to go to the restroom because of the beer they have drunk. Cain mocks them and doesn't let them go, forcing them to pee in bottles in front of everyone. Hyde becomes irritated and demands to cut to the chase, but Cain kneels him down with a muzzle to his temple and continues telling his story. After Hyde gave him the assignment, Cain tracked down Mabel and snatched her bag, but the woman kept chasing the thief in desperation. Cain tried to get away from her by dropping the bag, but she kept running after him anyway and ended up getting hit by a car. Cain was shocked by this and froze on the spot, allowing the police to arrest him. At the station, Detective O'Hara reported that Mabel, the mother of 3 and grandmother of 2, had died at the hospital from her injuries. She was one of the people the crook Lincoln had on the hook. He set a lot of people up, profiting from their grief. The scheme was simple. The bandits would come to the victims and scare them by saying that their relative, for example their son, owed them a large sum of money. But there was a way to save the debtor. One simply had to deliver a package with something illegal to the right address, and then the criminals would forget about the debt and leave the family alone. Yet, it is precisely this package that people like Cain steal from victims on the way.
All of a sudden, there's a catastrophic amount of money in that package. Now, this is the entrapment part. The gang members want more, don't they?
After that, the criminals can do whatever they want, take every penny, use the victim's car and house to run their criminal business. Cain couldn't believe his brother was capable of such a thing, but the detective read off a list of victims that they knew of. Mabel was one of them. Cain refused to turn his brother in and demanded a lawyer. O'Hara refused him. Too many people had been hurt by Lincoln. Sergeant Evans took Cain to a room where he beat and tortured him, but the guy still wouldn't crack. At this point, Lincoln and his entourage show up at the bar. The older brother declares that he is happy to see Cain, but the latter does not fall for this trick and demands that they lay down their guns. Lincoln volunteers to replace Hyde at gunpoint, but the brother refuses, sipping his beer. He shows the scars on his face and the steel teeth the dentist put in instead of the normal porcelain ones.
Because of my attitude.
Yeah, but you see, you do have a problem with your attitude.
Lincoln accuses his brother of wanting to snitch on him in prison. The same Sergeant Evans was the gangster's inside man and reported on Cain's actions.
You're trusting a bent copper over your own flesh and blood.
Cain knows that Detective O'Hara fired Evans when he found out about his criminal dealings, and Lincoln offers to call the sergeant himself, but the man won't be able to answer. Cain has already visited him at the bar where he was working as a security guard. Evans recognizes Burgess and confessed to turning the brothers against each other. The seasoned cop didn't wait and attacked first, knocking his opponent down. Still, Cain took over and finished Evans off with a metal table leg. Lincoln refuses to admit his mistake. He brings up the death of their mother to soften his brother. Cain replies that he would have had time to say goodbye if the cops had not stopped her coffee on the way to the hospital. And Lincoln did not visit his mother, even though he had the opportunity to do so. The brother replies that he was busy doing things that allowed him to pay for her hospital stay. Cain, on the other hand, sitting in jail, clearly did not contribute to his mother's recovery. The mutual accusations continue, and none of the brothers take responsibility for their actions. Lincoln admits that he did not help his brother and offers to bury the hatchet. But Cain worries not only about his own fate, but also about the fate of the victims who were deceived by his older brother. He still remembers their names.
Look, I'll be honest with you, mate. To me, they weren't just another fucking day at the office. They mean nothing to me, they're all cunts.
Hyde takes the floor and says that smart people wouldn't buy something like that. So all the fools got what they deserved. Cain can't take it anymore and pulls the trigger, blowing the hostage's brains out. He managed to reload the gun before the others rush at him. Lincoln takes his words about reconciliation back. Cain isn't going to stop either, and shows the phone number of Stokes, the accountant who has been laundering the gangster's money. He had found him in a luxurious mansion. Stokes didn't even recognize the disfigured Cain. The man tried to stop the intruder with a shotgun, but Cain took away his weapon. He gained access to Lincoln's bank account and vowed to let Stokes leave town. 2 million pounds of his older brother's money are shared between the victims' accounts. The list of 147 families was repeated many times at the trial, and Cain remembers every single name. He carved them all over the wall of his cell.
See, I knew it was too late to help myself, but maybe I could help them.
All the pain and suffering the man endured in prison, he was able to survive only to take revenge on his brother and to help the victims of his deeds. Cain was only released to visit his mother because he had promised the detective information about Lincoln. Cain says he only wants his brother and offers the others to leave alive. Everyone but Toon refuses, and he too is seated back at the table. 10 men cannot be killed by Cain with a single shotgun. Suddenly, Bez hits Cain over the head with a bottle, and Lincoln's men knock the weapon out of his hands. They pelt him with glasses, while the bartender arms them with rebar from under the bar. But Cain is used to fighting multiple opponents at once and repels their attacks. Toon escapes, while his companions get smacked in the face with everything that Cain can get his hands on.
Come on then! It's not fucking fancy about my seat! Come on!
Lincoln hides behind the backs of his subordinates, some of whom manage to hit his little brother. But when Toon, who has come back, shows up on the doorstep, they're all lying on the ground. The guy tries to shoot Cain with a burst of machine gun fire, but only hits his own men who are trying to get up. Cain takes the gun from him and uses it himself. The survivors fight back and badly injure Cain with a knife. In the end, only Lincoln and Bez remain at the bar. Cain sits down to take a break, pours himself a beer, and spits out one of his few natural teeth. Cain feels the triumph of having buried the business of his brother, who is at this time aiming a shotgun at him. Lincoln says that even if Cain didn't snitch on him, he's still a disgrace to the family, and his failures have impacted the mobster's reputation. And he'll build his empire anew when he is finished with Cain. Lincoln pulls the trigger, but nothing happens.
You see, that's what happens when you get other people to do your dirty work. You forget to check the gun to see if it's loaded.
Bez gives his boss a knife, with which Lincoln tries to stab his brother. Cain stops the attempt and uses the weapon against the man instead. Cain leaves the bar, yet his wound is also fatal, and he slumps to the ground. Each of the 147 victims of the bandits receive 15,000 pounds. That's enough to start a new life. Everything is reported to Detective O'Hara, who realizes who to thank for this. As always, look for the name of the movie in the video description. In the meantime, let us know in the comments. Have you ever had any situation that you couldn't forgive your family for? And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next awesome retelling.